So.
Okay, well, call me back.
Okay. Well, Dr. One, you just called from, is that yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Change is as strong as its weakness. Change is as strong as its weakness.
Maybe I should go talk to her.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a couple minutes. So I'm trying to, I'll be right there. I just wanted to finish a thought.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, Steve.
Yes. Walk up my glasses. Walk around like that.
And then I saw this thing, oh, you're shaving thing. It's not bad, can burst or something.
What's the shade?
It's supposed to stop it from walking.
Oh, it says that we're here.
What? What'd you say? Shows that we're here.
So someone is logged in as new travel iPad.
Turned up the volume.
Pardon me? The person with new travel. Who's new travel iPad? Doesn't help me around.
You're gonna have to show me what you.
Can you review?
Is she in?
I don't know.
Diana, are you still in Zoom?
And yeah, feedback thing.
So you need to close out.
I got ready to go there.
Thank you. There we go.
Share everything in.
You need the new travel pods.
Well, I believe so, yes.
Oh, do we have?
Joe Biden did. No, or he knows any of these people. Don't know. He's the new planning chief, I think.
Who's talking?
Hi, Debbie Rivers. If you can mute your microphone while we get started here. And then also there's someone called New Travel iPad. If you could mute your microphone as well. All right, looks like we're all muted.
And new travel iPad is still not muted.
I think you guys are getting some reverb there at the City Hall or something.
Working on it.
Okay, we're doing stuff now still?
I don't know, are we, no, it's not
I think it
good
sounds
enough,
good.
right?
My Dell audio. I think I fixed it.
Okay, so just as a reminder, folks, as you come into the meeting, please mute your microphone.
We have a quorum, yeah. Yeah.
Wait, Styles is there now?
Oh, there's Jeff.
There it is. We have 1, 2, 3.
We're at 6 o'clock right now. We have Bruce, we have Jeff.
We just have 3.
Yeah, we're waiting on Cody.
Mark.
He's supposed to call in, he has all the information.
I can't hear you.
He told me it was legible.
Can't hear you when you yell like that.
Hello,
Sam.
this is Mark.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Good. Hey, Roger, if you could mute your microphone. Thank you. And just a reminder to some of the folks that just popped in, if you can mute your microphone
There's Jeff Styles.
so you're ready to talk. Thank you.
Where'd Jeff go?
He's over on the right now, it's so hard when you
They
move
keep
around.
moving around.
Cody is the one that we're missing.
I think we're just waiting on Cody. We're at 6:01 right now. I'll give him another minute. Maybe he's having some technical difficulties.
That's
You
fine.
folk, did he say he was going to be at the meeting?
He did.
Okay.
Somebody has heavy breathing. Please mute.
Depends on the person. This is consistent. No, 3 must be 3.
Yes, but we're waiting for Cody, who said that he would be here. It's not yet.
Okay, so we're at 6:03 now. I was hoping we could get Cody in here before we started, but for the sake of time, I think we're going to get moving. Hopefully, he'll pop in. Right now, we have a quorum, correct? There's 4 of us: Bruce, Jeff, Mark, and myself. And if Cody pops in, then that'll just add 1 more to the mix. Okay, so we're gonna call the meeting to order. I just wanted to remind you folks, if you're not talking, just please be sure to have your microphone muted. If you're on the phone, try to hold the speaker away from your mouth so there's no feedback while you're listening. When it does come to talk, feel free to put it back up to your mouth and start talking. But there is some feedback that we can get through that. So we're gonna start with roll call.
Brian Bybee,
Here.
Mark Popoff,
Here.
Bruce LaViere, Jeff Stiles.
Here.
And I saw Cody was trying to connect, but he's gone again.
Okay.
I'm here.
There you are, Bruce.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully Cody will hop in here soon. But let's move to approval of the agenda. Do we have any motions for that? Or any edits at all? Oh, there's Cody. Perfect. Okay. Do we have a motion for the approval of the agenda or any edits at all from any of the commissioners?
I move that we approve the agenda as written.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Is that an aye, Cody?
Yes, sorry, I'm having some connection issues over here.
That's okay. Thank you. Okay, so that
Excuse me,
was,
Chair.
yes,
Did Jeff agree?
yes, it was unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to move into the portion of public comment. This is for any comments not related to what the hearing is for tonight. But this is, a time where the public is allowed to come up and speak if they want for anything else that's not related. Is there any folks that have any public comment? And remember to unmute yourself if you do. Going once, twice. Okay, so we'll move on out of the public comment portion. We'll move into the quasi judicial public hearing. Let me get to something real quick. Okay. Now is the time specified for the Planning Commission to conduct a public hearing to consider appeal number 30-20, an appeal of the administrative approval of subdivision 74-19. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 health crisis, the city's public hearing procedures for tonight's quasi-judicial hearing have been amended. On April 15th, 2020, the governor issued executive order number 20-16 titled Keep Government Working, ordering necessary measures to ensure safe public meetings and continued operations by local governments during coronavirus outbreak. Pursuant to 2A of the governor's order, public bodies must hold public hearings through an electronic means whenever possible. Also, pursuant to section 2A of the governor's order, the public body must make available a method by which the public can listen to or virtually attend the public hearing at the time it occurs. Regarding public testimony, section 2C of the governor's order states, any requirement that testimony during a public hearing be taken in person do not apply if the public body provides an opportunity for submission of testimony by electronic or virtual means, or provides a means of submitting written testimony, including by email or other electronic methods, that the public body may consider in a timely manner. The governor's order is to remain in effect so long as Oregon's state of emergency is in effect. As of the date of this public hearing, Oregon's state of emergency remains in effect. Consistent with the governor's order, the city has implemented the following procedures for tonight's public hearing. This meeting is accessible to the public via Zoom, and access instructions were provided in the May 11th, 2020 amended public hearing notice. The land use application and all related documents, as well as the applicable criteria, were posted to the city's website for public viewing. Written testimony and comments regarding this appeal were required to be emailed or mailed to the planning department no later than May 18th, 2020. All written testimony was timely posted to the city's website for public viewing and also transmitted to the planning commissioners so that the testimony could be considered in a timely manner. In addition to the written testimony received, The Planning Commission will be hearing live testimony tonight through Zoom. The procedures for providing live testimony at tonight's hearing are as follows. You must be recognized by the chair before providing testimony. The participants in tonight's hearing are currently muted and will be unmuted when called on by the chair. If you have logged into this meeting from your computer and you would like to testify, please raise your hand using the icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. The chair will call on you either by your name or whatever designation appears on your Zoom screen. The city clerk will be assisting the chair throughout this process. If you are calling in from your home or cell phone, please wait until we have called on everyone that is logged in from their computers. Those who have joined using their phones will be asked if they wish to speak next. We ask everyone to be respectful, limit background noise, and not talk over each other. You must state your name and address before you begin speaking. Please speak slowly. Everyone who wishes to speak will have 5 minutes. After I open the public hearing, we will hear from staff. After we hear from staff, we will ask the appellants if they wish to present testimony in favor of their appeal. We will then hear from the public. Finally, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will then ask staff if they wish to have, if they have any rebuttal. To expedite the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of persons as they testify. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Do the commissioners, staff, or applicants have any questions? And remember to unmute yourself if you do. I'm not hearing any. Okay, so have any members of the commission had any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias which would not allow them to render an impartial decision on this matter?
I have not.
Okay, so none from Bruce. Jeff?
No.
Okay, Cody?
I have not.
Okay, and Mark?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. One thing that I would like to note for myself is I am an associate planner with the Wasco County Planning Department. I know that they have provided comment towards this application, but I'd like to note for the record that I haven't had any involvement on the county level with this application.
Okay, I would just like to add something too, just for clarification. I am a licensed realtor in the state of Oregon. I work for Copper West Real Estate. Back probably in January 2020, when this first came across the board, I did talk to Cam Curtis just to like, hey, heard you're thinking about subdivision over on East 12th and 10th, real brief preliminary talks. Given my, occupation as a realtor, of course, this does have a, this will have an effect. It's increasing housing in the market. Cam Curtis does not work directly with realtors. He is builder direct, so I won't have any position or anything going on in the sales of this, at least for the first lap when they're sold to those first homeowners. That's how Cam Curtis operates. So I just want to state I'm comfortable with being a part of this decision-making process, certainly, and I don't see a conflict of interest for myself.
Do you have any concerns with either of that, Diana?
No.
Okay. Okay, so hearing none from anyone else, does anyone participating in tonight's hearing wish to challenge the qualifications of any members of the commission? And this can be for anyone that's part of the meeting. Remember to unmute yourself if you do. Okay, going once, twice. We'll move on. Okay. So the public hearing is now open. May we hear from staff?
Yes, thank you, Chair Bybee. I'll talk first before I turn it over to Josh. Staff understands that there's a tremendous amount of public interest in tonight's hearing. We understand the public's desire to be heard on this matter. So I would like to preface staff's request with an assurance to the appellants and the public that staff does not object to taking public testimony this evening. We see value in that and we understand the importance of this proceeding. That said, staff is respectfully requesting a continuance under ORS 197.763 subsection 4B for purposes of compiling additional evidence that is materially relevant to this hearing. Staff received an amended traffic impact study on Monday afternoon. The city needs additional time to review the traffic impact study. The study has not been accepted by the city as of the date of this hearing. And again, the traffic impact study is material to this appeal. Therefore, we are respectfully requesting that this hearing be continued to June 18, 2020. We estimate that it will take approximately 1 to 2 weeks to review the most recent version of the traffic impact study and address any needed revisions or clarifications. I understand that prior to any testimony from the appellant's attorney, if he wishes to give it, the appellants and the public, that staff would like to provide a brief overview of the project. And I believe that that would come from Josh if the commission grants staff's request to continue to June 18.
I personally would not have any problem with delaying it till June 18. It's better to go in having looked at the evidence and the information that's available before we could get started with an actual hearing.
I think that's a good idea as well. It'll not only address some concerns, but also any of the concerns that some folks feel this has been decided on in a very fast manner. Although it's been decided on statutorily, you know, it'll address some of those concerns. Does anyone else have any comment?
I have no problem with continuing on to next June.
Okay.
Nor do I.
Okay. What we should do tonight, because we have so many people on the call and I would hate to not give folks a chance to talk. What we'll do tonight is we'll allow testimony from the appellant if they wish to provide it tonight. And then we'll also allow testimony and comments from the public as well. And then next meeting will primarily be staff's presentation. And then if there's any additional comments at that time, then we'll be able to accept those.
That's correct. Chair Bybee, you were cutting out just a little bit. You said that I think what you said is that we'll continue to June 18 and hear the substantive issues at that time, and tonight take public testimony. And in addition to that, we'll take additional public testimony if there is any on June 18. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, sorry, I was cutting out there. Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Do you want a motion to continue the hearing before we go into the discussions?
Do you think that's necessary, or should we wait until after public testimony?
I think I prefer to wait until after public testimony to make the motion and recess until June 18.
Okay. Okay. So at this time, if the appellant has any testimony that they'd like to present, they're welcome to do that. And remember to unmute yourself if you do.
Chair Bybee, I apologize. I should have done this at the outset. Present at City Hall with me tonight is my co-counsel, Kristen Campbell, just so everyone in the meeting and on the call understand that she's in my firm. She's a partner at my firm and also represents the city of the Dalles.
Okay,
Apologies.
perfect.
Were we having a brief?
And what was the,
Yes, I apologize, Chair Bybee. In addition to that, I think that Josh was prepared to do a brief overview of the project before we go into public testimony.
oh, correct. Yep. Okay. That would be a good idea. Let's get some historic or some background on the property. So yeah, if staff wants to provide that at this time.
Good evening, Commissioners. Joshua Chandler, Community Development Department. I know we'll be discussing this at a later date, but yeah, I do want to provide a brief description of the project as well as the history of the zoning. This project is located in East the Dalles. It abuts East 10th Street to the north, 12th Street to the south, Richmond to the east. Property is vacant and has no address at this time. The assessor's map and tax lot number, 1 north, 13 east, 1C, tax lot 201. Reason I bring it up, tax lot 201 is the result of a minor partition, number 36619, which was approved October 31st, 2019, under previous ownership. This created tax lot 201, which is the subject property, 6.92 acres, as well as tax lot 200, which is 0.38 acres. Upon recording, tax lot 200 retained the existing assessor's map and tax lot number, street address 2845, as well as the account number. That is the location of the existing single-family home at the site. The zoning district designation of the subject property is high-density residential. On March 9th, 2020, the Community Development Department approved the administrative application for subdivision 7419 for Legacy Development Group. That divided one parcel into 73 parcels of varying size. 72 of those parcels would be for dwelling purposes, and one of them dedicated as a community park. Dwelling parcel sizes range between 2,122 square feet to 6,095 square feet. Guess I'm getting a voice here that I'm too loud. As a condition of approval, the applicant was required to submit a traffic impact study as discussed prior to the approval of the final plat. To date, staff has received the study, but it requires additional analysis from staff before we can comment. Some highlights of this study do include changes to the overall site plan, the relocation of proposed Bradley Street. It's actually going to be a reduction of the dwelling parcels from 72 to 69, and the community park is actually going to double in size. March 19th, 2020, a notice of appeal was submitted to the Community Development Department, which is the subject of this discussion. After receiving multiple comments and questions regarding the zoning designation of the parcel, staff felt it was necessary to provide a brief history of the parcel's high density designation. Department staff consulted Wasco County Planning Department, as well as former City of the Dalles planning consultant Dan Meter to verify the following information. Although this information has been provided, zoning history of an individual parcel is not criterion addressed when reviewing a subdivision application. In 1983, the City of the Dalles and Wasco County entered into agreement for joint management of the Dalles urban growth boundary. This unique agreement established the city's review of all land use applications within the urban growth boundary. October 5th, 1992, the Dalles City Council approved the appointment of a 17-member steering committee for the revision of the Dalles Comprehensive Plan. The steering committee held 21 meetings and workshops between October 92 and December of 1993, reviewing proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan, which included new zoning designations and boundaries. On March 7th, 1994, Wasco County Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the Wasco County Court adopt the proposed 1994 comprehensive plan and map. On March 28th and May 9th of 1994, the Dalles City Council held public hearings to discuss the proposed amendments. And on May 9th, 1994, the Dallas City Council voted unanimously to approve General Ordinance 941184. On May 19th of 1994, Wasco County Court unanimously approved the same ordinance. The new comprehensive plan and land use map, which replaced the former map from 1982, plan and map from 1982, was put into effect on June 9th, 1994. In 1997, the city of the Dalles and Wasco County once again updated the joint management agreement, as well as the urban growth area and boundary and the national scenic area and urban area boundary. On June 11th, 1998, Chapter 10 of the Dalles Municipal Code was adopted with no changes to the high density residential designation of the subject property, which is the current designation. And I can go back to, I think it goes back to you now, Chair Bybee.
All right, thank you, Josh. Okay, so we have gotten a little background on the property now. Now is the time. If the appellants are present and have testimony, here's an opportunity for you to come forward. Remember to unmute yourselves, if so.
Hello.
Hi. And can you state your name and address for the record?
Yes, Steve Marash with the Lander Home Law Firm, 805 Broadway, Suite 1000, Vancouver, Washington, 98660.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead.
And I'm the attorney for the appellant. Since we're going to continue the hearing, I'd prefer to wait and give my presentation at the next hearing after I've had a chance to fully review any additional materials that are submitted.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we're gonna allow some time for that next meeting, so that sounds good.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense. That way you can kind of get it all at once.
Okay.
And it can be a full analysis of the additional information, because I understand the traffic report has changed a bit, and we just got that this morning. So.
Okay, that's understandable. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, so if that was the only appellant, correct? Mr. Marash. And so we'll go into, we will now hear from the public. As explained at the beginning of the hearing, we will first call on those individuals who have accessed tonight's meeting from their computers and have their hands raised through Zoom. A reminder that there is an icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen that allows you to raise your hand. Please state your name and address before you speak. Please speak slowly. And then after this is over, we'll call on folks that have called in. So we'll address the folks that are on the Zoom call first, if you would like to raise your hand and speak. Do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Yes, you have someone.
Okay. And who do we have?
Karen Murray.
Do I need to unmute her?
Can you unmute?
Unmute, there we go.
Okay, there you go. Okay, please state your name and address for the record, both of you, please.
Okay, my name is Steve Murray. I live at 2645 East 11th Street in the Dalles. Okay, Karen.
Karen Murray. I live at the same place, 2645 East 11th Street in the Dalles.
Okay, my primary concern after looking over the traffic report that I got yesterday.
This morning.
This morning, okay, is they studied the traffic for 2 hours on a Thursday afternoon in January, which seems to me to fall short of a thorough traffic study. I think a comprehensive traffic study ought to take at least a week. So you can see what the traffic's like on different days of the week, and 2 hours in the afternoon, even though that's supposedly the high traffic volume time, isn't necessarily a picture of the full day. And I also think that if you're going to put in 80 dwelling units,
69,
that we're going to have more than 52 trips in and out in an afternoon. That just, most families have 2 cars and people coming and going. I believe there's going to be a lot more traffic. And also on one of the diagrams of the intersection between 10th and Thompson, where they're showing how many right turns and left turns and so on, they completely left off Old Duffer Road. So the traffic study that you currently have seems totally insufficient to me.
and then there's also 9th Street right there. There's a
No.
9th Street that goes in, that goes
Not
down.
right there, that's Thompson.
I have a concern in that I just think this format limits people that aren't comfortable with it, or there's just, I don't quite understand how many people are on this, but I think it needs to be a meeting that we can be at physically so that people can comment and understand and ask questions that aren't limited technology wise. I just think that's a little, it's just a little scary to some people. And I don't think we're going to get all the input in this kind of meeting. And maybe the next one can be a meeting where everyone can be in person. I don't know. But I just think this is really limiting. And it's such a big, it affects hundreds and hundreds of people, this decision. And I haven't talked to anybody that's in favor of it yet in the neighborhood. So I know that's irrelevant, but I just think our opinion, because we have to live with it, matters. And it's just, it's very traumatic for some of us. And I appreciate Josh going through all the history, but it doesn't make it right what is being thrust upon this neighborhood. It's not a good place for high density. And I don't know how many reasons we have to give you, but it's just not. And it just seems like there's so many other areas that high density would be better suited. So I don't get it. And it's upsetting to me.
Okay. Is that all the comment you folks had? Okay. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Mr. and Mrs. Murray?
I do not.
Okay, I don't see anyone jumping up. One of the concerns that was brought up, and is something that was addressed in the governor's order. Holding these meetings digitally is not only a way that allows staff to meet deadlines for current applications that we have, but I know that it is challenging for some folks to attend these meetings, especially ones that aren't necessarily connected to the digital world. But that is the reason why we provide a phone number for them to call in as well. And provide comment if they would like. I do understand the frustration in not being able to voice your comments in person. But I think with the current global situation and everything that's going on, I think this is the best means that we have right now for moving forward on this stuff. So Diana?
Yes, and I would like to just state for the record, I certainly hear and understand the frustration. But the governor's executive order, the Keep Oregon Working Order, it's a requirement that municipalities shall hold remote meetings whenever possible, so long as the stay home, stay live Save Lives, order is in effect, and that is currently in effect until July 6th. So unfortunately, I don't see any opportunity for an in-person meeting as soon as June 18, although we also would prefer that, certainly. But it's not optional. We have to comply.
Okay.
And also comply with the statutory deadlines for land use decisions. So we're hamstrung.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Murray, you had your hand raised.
Is it possible to just postpone this till we can meet in person?
The reason that we are unable to do that is because there are statutory requirements requiring the city to make a decision on the original application within a specified time frame. So that's where the difficulty comes in for the city in terms of scheduling the meetings. We certainly would prefer a more traditional forum.
Yeah, it just seems like too big of a decision to do it this way. It's not okay with the neighbors.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, this is fine, but if we have to make a decision, or you have to make a decision on this, it's too hard.
Diana, time.
Well, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Anna Gatton, if you could please, did you want to provide testimony?
I would just like to talk if I could for a moment.
Okay, yeah, I saw you unmuted yourself and raised your hand, so I wanted to, if you could state your name and address for the record.
First, it's not Anna Gatton, it's my daughter, so I don't have one. So my name is Rena, R-E-N-A, Malden, M-A-U-L-D-I-N. I live at 2732 East 12th. We're the property that sits kind of across adjacent from a cherry orchard and one next to us. And we are the last home in the city limits, and then it goes to the county. And we are right there where the property is going to take place, where these dwellings. I worked a lot with, I used to live in Portland with the city of Portland, and I was on a traffic committee there. And they actually stretched a line or a cord or something in the street where they could count cars and the speed and the times and record all of that. And I think we need a complete study. I'm along with Murray's. I'm really against this because we bought this house like 4 years ago because it was kind of country and getting out of the whole city and having 69 dwellings. And I've been told that there's going to be provided 2 parking spaces per doorknob. And this is just going to be a lot of traffic. And 12th Street is already used like 84. I mean, we've got cars with skid marks. We've had kids that can't even ride their bikes around here because of the traffic and the speed that they go, because people do not honor the speed limit. When we had the road paved, it stopped at the city, and then the county didn't get to be repaved. And it was forever before the city remarked the line with the dimensions on each lane. So I really think that we do need to have a little bit more time in doing a little bit more research on volume. I'm with the Murrays totally, that we need to really study the speed and the volume and have it maybe to do like a week. And in January, to the flow of traffic, I don't think it's as busy as what it's becoming and with the nicer weather and so forth. So I would really do appreciate that. And the thing, I worked in an education elementary school for 28 years, and to think that they're going to have 2 lots now for the park really thrills me. I think that's the most positive thing that I hear out of this, if it's going to really happen. And I really thank you for letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you for providing comment. We appreciate it. Do the commissioners have any questions?
He's got to hang up.
Any questions?
No questions.
I don't have any at this time.
Thank you.
I don't have any.
None for Mark. What about you, Jeff?
No.
Okay,
Thank you very much for your kindness.
thank you.
Chair,
Okay, yes.
Chair.
Yep.
Gary Gingrich has been raising his hand quite a bit.
Oh, okay. We will, we'll have Gary Gingrich provide comment now then. If you could state your name, name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, I'm Gary Gingrich. I live at 2835 East.
Sir, if you have the meeting on in the background, it might be providing feedback.
Yeah, let me,
There, I'm out.
okay, I think, is that better?
There you go. Yep.
Good. Thanks, Fran. I actually have one comment and two questions.
Excuse me, Chair, by me, he did not complete his address.
Oh, sorry. State your name and address for the record.
Okay. I'm Gary Gingrich. I live at 2835 East 10th Street. Been a resident here for 30 years. I have been a principal user of the property parcel that is in question here, as John Geiger graciously let us all walk through there and really appreciated it. I have one comment and two questions. The first comment is that I really appreciate the professionalism of all parties in this situation. It's my perception that everyone is trying to do their job properly and professionally. And I think a good example of that is the decision tonight to delay further discussion of this until a month from now when the traffic study under question is actually available. The questions I have are, actually there's just one, and there's probably not an answer, but I wanted to raise it. COVID has changed everything in our lives. I think for all of us, it's a good example that we're all sitting here talking this way. Undoubtedly, it's going to change planning going forward, community planning. And I wonder if this is the level of the approval process for future community planning at which that needs to be considered before approval of this plan. I know that's not in statute, but there's also much in this emergency that's not in statute elsewhere. The issue here primarily for most of us is population density. For the past decade or so, it's been a goal of society to increase population density throughout a state where some places it's appropriate, some places it doesn't match so well. But we're now in a small community with a little bit of property left, imposing a proper population density ruling that really was designed statewide and probably on a national level above that. And we're doing it at the time when we're probably on the cusp of having population density sound a lot different in public discourse than it did a year ago. I don't think it sounds as good now after New York, after other things. There is already a public awareness and a public move to seek areas to live where there's less density, to work remotely. I'm just wondering if this might be a good time to really reconsider whether we want to, at this point, when these things are undecided and unclear, move toward imposing a permanent but previous solution on this property. And that's my question. I don't expect an answer, but I wanted to raise it. Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners wish to address that or have any questions for Mr. Gingrich?
I don't at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Not at this time.
And Mark?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. And hopefully throughout this process, Gary, we can hopefully answer your question. And again, this will get continued on until June. Hopefully more answers can be provided before then. Okay. So with no questions, we are going to move. Does anyone else have any testimony they'd wish to provide? If so, please raise your hand.
Roberts Mini.
Roberts Mini. Okay, if you would unmute yourself, please state your name and address for the record.
She just muted herself back.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said. This is
Oh,
Josette.
okay, sorry, your Zoom tag says Roberts Mini.
Yes, that's my husband. Anyway, my name is Josette Schultens, and I live at 2637 East 10th Street. And we've lived here for 36 years, I believe. So we've watched, back to the traffic thing, we've watched that increase and how it has increased since then. And it's not good. It's not a good thing. The other thing, I wanted to say everything that Gary said, but he said it so nicely that I could never do a better job than him on that. So I agree with him totally on that. And then another one was, I was wondering if anyone had come up and looked at the property with the plans to see what he's proposed, what is being proposed. In the line of the traffic, there's a blind hill up there that you can't see anything coming the other direction. And that's right in front of Gary's house and Bob Perkins' house, right there. You can't see it until you're on top, and then you can meet it. Whether he moves the driveway or the entrance or exit or whatever it was that was going to be there, whether he moves it one way or the other, it's not going to really solve any issue. And I really don't think it would solve it if it was right on the top either. If you drive it, if you were to come up here and walk around. There are a lot of questions in it about the landscaping and how it looks. And the two parking spaces for each car, we're talking under 7 acres. And we're going to put 60 something dwellings with 2 parking spaces for each one, which more than likely will be. And then for the fire trucks, if they need it, we're talking about ambulances and everything else. I think it needs to be looked at in person, if you did it as a group, or if you could do it separately or whatever. I really think you should take it and look at that if you could. I know you guys are really busy. I know you've got a lot on your plate, but I think it would be a good thing if you did come up and look at it and check out the streets as we come. Something's gonna have to happen to 10th Street. I haven't been up and down 12th as much because obviously I live on 10th. But then you have Morton, that's dirt. It's a gravel road going south and north. You have Richmond, which is not an easy slope either. And when it's snowy and icy as it can get in the wintertime here, that's not a really fun street to go down. Neither is 10th. And I don't know, I guess I just think about all the increase in traffic, the situation where we sit, the people who do like to walk down the streets, and the kids who do get to ride their bikes. It's really something that I think you'd have to be there to see, and then you would get an idea of what we're talking about. And the other question I had was the young man who is proposing this. It was my understanding that some of the units were going to be for sale, not all, but some of the units. And I don't remember that there were very many units that were going to be for sale. And I was just kind of curious what his long range plan is for that area as well, because that will have an impact on a lot more than just this one street. It will have a lot more impact. I mean, it goes for miles. Any direction you go, it's going to affect anything for a long distance all the way around it. But thank you for letting me ramble on. Just things that I would ask respectfully that you think about in looking at this. And just because it is right now designated a high density area, does that mean it has to be a high density? Is that, like Gary said, what is the long-term vision for our city? Do we have a plan for the long-term vision? Do we want to incorporate it? And if these people don't all have cars, another throwing in random idea here too. We're a long ways from any services that anybody would probably, if they needed to get to, would want to walk. I mean, and if they do walk, it's going to take them a while. So I don't know. Like the Murray said, I don't see it as an ideal place for a multi-housing, a high density housing. I don't see that at all. And there's something going up there now that's really too bad, that it's just practically on top of the neighbor next to them. And anyway, just please consider it. Thank you. It's a way of life out here that doesn't seem to fit with what the plan is. But thanks again. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the comment. You're right on time. Okay, do any of the commission members have questions? Let's see, Cody shaking his head no.
No.
I don't have any.
Bruce shaking his head no. Jeff?
Mrs. Schultens, I have driven around the property. I have looked around the property. I do know the hills you're talking about. I can even tell you that the stop sign at the bottom of 12th Street at Thompson is blocked by foliage. So something to consider. But yes, we have seen the property, or many of us have seen the property.
Yeah, I've been to the property a couple times, multiple times.
I'm familiar with that area because I've done some work for John Geiger many years ago.
I live just off of Thompson Street. So we walk up that direction on a fairly regular basis.
I'm the only one that's never been there.
The beautiful views, you gotta go walk up that way.
Yeah. Okay, so if we don't have any questions, we'll move on. Is there anyone else that wishes to provide testimony? And if so, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand. All right, we have the Murrays. If it's quick, I know we already had some question time for you, but if it's quick, sure.
Wondering if all the commissioners had time to read the letters, because I'm assuming quite a few letters came in early and then the second batch more came in. I've invited everyone to take a walk around the block with me. I'd love that.
And do you want them to state their name and address for the record again?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I read through the first batch of letters that I've gotten.
Okay. Do the other commissioners feel they had enough time to go through the public comment that was provided as well?
I have. I've read it all.
I've read them.
I've read them, but it's one of those things that as we go through this process, I would normally go through and review them again as I go through the process. So,
right, stay fresh on it.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Is there any other public testimony? If you're itching to get your opinions out, now is the time. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself. If not, we are going 3, 2, 1. Okay. So now we will take testimony from those people who have called in. Please do not talk over one another. But if you're on the phone and you called in, now is the time to provide testimony. Is there anyone on the phone that wishes to address the commission? And if you do, please state your name and address. I'm not hearing anyone jump up. So we will we'll close it there. Okay, so since there's no other testimony, no one else is coming forward. Now will be the time for rebuttal from staff for some of the public comment.
I don't have any rebuttal at this time. Josh?
No.
I
Okay.
think we're good. I think we'll cover everything in a month or so when we meet again.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
Sorry, Brent.
go ahead.
Brent. Dale, do you want to add anything about the parameters of a traffic study, or do you want to wait till we meet again next month?
I think we can just wait until we go through the traffic study and just have those discussions internally.
Okay. So if there's nothing more from staff, let's entertain a motion to continue the hearing to June 18th at 6 p.m.
For the record, I'd just like to state that the record will be held open.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
That's a little bit of what it's going to be for people now is to come out.
I mean, so we keep the record open until the meeting on June 18th.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kay Erickson, could you please mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, sorry, did we have a motion there?
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Okay.
And let me know if, and Dale, this is a question for Dale the engineer. Let me know if I'm out of line here. If you could just give us I personally would like to hear just a quick overview of things you look for, thresholds, things like that, so that when we do look through this new traffic study, we can kind of share your mind of like what you're looking for, what are the thresholds that, force change, like new stop signs or speed bumps or whatever it may be. Like, what are you looking for in this traffic report that would give reason for change? That would give reason for change to traffic flow and things like that. Is that an appropriate question for right now or no?
They may want to review the latest study before they jump into that kind of stuff.
Okay, and yeah, like I said, if it's not a simple answer, it's just, I just like to know what I'm looking at too.
Well, it's a good thing to go through as a commissioner too, because it's kind of an educational process.
Sure, yeah, sure, and I have, of course, it's a lot of numbers and a lot of graphs, and I could see where volumes are and where what those numbers mean and at what time of day, but what do those numbers lead to? Like, is that average? Is it?
Well,
you understand what I mean?
we have, the city has a policy for what we require for traffic studies that we hand out to all the developers and their traffic engineers that give the guidelines for what we want to see in the traffic study. The information that we're requesting and those guidelines are established by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, which is called the ITE manual. And that's what the traffic engineers use to do their analysis and provide that information. Usually you study for the AM peak period and the PM peak period. And most generally the PM peak period is the highest volume of traffic in that 24-hour period. So they generally go out and they count the traffic over that PM peak time, and then they use the ITE manual based on such as this case, the single family dwelling units, and they extrapolate the traffic numbers that they got based on the numbers that are also in the ITE manual to come up with how much traffic is going to be generated by that development. And so then we also, as the city, we give them the intersections that we want them to go and study based on where the development's located and what intersections are going to be most likely affected by the addition of that development. So we give those parameters to the developer and their engineer for them to go out and do that study on. So we provide all that information, those guidelines, and again, they have the ITE manual that they follow, and then the information that we're looking for, and we give the intersections of what we want to have studied.
Gotcha. So once this data is collected, when and where do we see city recommendations of what needs to be done? Like, that's not in this report. So is that something that comes up in the staff report later?
Generally, the traffic study itself will then, they'll do the study, and then based on their study and their findings, then they generally have recommendations or requirements for certain improvements that will be, that are found through the course of this study that need to occur at certain intersections or at certain locations as a result of the development. And they spell out what those improvements might need to be, and that's where the city reviews those and goes through that traffic study to see what requirements or recommendations are being recommended for the development, and we take a look at that and go through those, and we have discussions with them as well through that process.
Okay, got it.
Okay, I think that's a good overview of the process. Thank you, Dale. I appreciate that. And to mention, Dale, are there any open positions on the traffic safety committee right now?
I believe there may be one, but I'm not remembering that for 100% sure because it's been about 3 months since we've had a meeting because of the COVID.
Right. I was going to say to whoever mentioned being part of a committee earlier, we have one here as well, if you'd be interested in checking it out. Okay, so let's move on.
We do have a motion on the floor.
Right, and sorry, there was a little interruption at the time the motion was made. So if it was made, could you please repeat it?
I move that we keep this open until the meeting on June 19th.
18th?
Whatever that day was.
So just to clarify, making a motion to continue the hearing until June 18th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye and raise your right hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we will continue the hearing until then. Okay, so now we will move into resolutions from some past hearings that we had. Do I need to go through, I don't need to go through the whole spiel again, do I, Diana?
No.
Okay, let me get to those real quick, just 1 second. No. Okay, here we go. Okay, so resolution number PC 590-20, approval of adjustment application 550-19 of Michael and Christine Irish for a reduction in the rear yard setback from 10 feet to 5 feet, a 50% reduction. Now therefore it be found, determined, resolved by the Planning Commission of the City of Dallas as follows. Would you folks like me to read through all this?
We like listening to your voice, but it isn't really necessary to read through the whole thing.
I don't think so. So we're going to move on to the end of it. Any party or record may appeal. Failure to exercise. Okay. Okay, so would anyone like to entertain a motion towards this resolution? I'm not hearing anyone.
How do we want it worded?
Oh.
I would say if one of the commissioners chooses or wishes to bring a motion to approve, it would just be move to approve resolution 590-20 approval of the adjustment 050-19.
Okay.
I would put a motion forward to approve the resolution just as you stated it. I threw it back at you.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye and raise your right hand. Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, so that resolution is approved. And now. Now is resolution 592-20. That is denial of MIP 371-20, Daniel Sanchez. Do we have a motion for that resolution?
Well, if nobody else is going to jump in, I move with that we accept the or deny the resolution. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
The motion does deny the MIP 371-20
Okay,
of Daniel Sanchez.
we have a motion. Would anyone like to second it?
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
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 Okay, and that one is unanimous as well. Okay, next one is resolution 593-20. That is denial of appeal 30-20 and affirming approval of.
Chair Bybee,
Oh,
we won't be entertaining those resolutions tonight. Those would
Right.
have been, due to the continuance.
I realized that as I was reading it. Okay, perfect. So those will be continued until next hearing to address. So at this time, are there any staff comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As far as your meeting of June 4th, there are no public hearings scheduled for that meeting, so staff would recommend that the Planning Commission consider canceling that meeting. And then your next meeting then would be on June 18th.
Okay, do you need a motion from us to cancel that meeting?
Just a consensus would be fine.
Okay, how does everyone feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So canceled.
Okay, and Mark?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Okay, so the next regularly scheduled meeting, June 4th, is canceled until June 18th. Are there any commissioner comments or questions at this time?
I have none.
Okay, none from Bruce.
None from Cody.
Okay, none from Jeff and Cody. Mark?
No, I don't have any at this time.
Okay. All right. Well, we've reached the end of the meeting and we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Commissioner comments. Staff comments.
Staff comments?
Never mind.
All right, folks. Thank you all for joining in. We appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
You as well. Steve, for that plat that you needed signed,
Yes.
when did you want that done tomorrow?
We have someone else.
I will have minutes and, not minutes, I'm sorry. I'll have a resolution for you to sign. If you could come in tomorrow, that would be great.
Okay. What time will you be? What time will you be in the morning?
How about you just text me and we'll settle it up. Settle.
Okay.
I'll be in when it's convenient for you. What time would you like to come in?
Let me think about that and I'll text you tonight.
Alrighty.
All right.
That's it, I mean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.